One of the most important things about designing and building websites on Wix Studio is using advanced settings. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn this on, how to use it, and we're going to build a few sections together so you can see how it's going to help you make your websites even better. So right now I have it turned on by default. And so every single element I click on has the advanced settings enabled, which allows you to control the size, but also allows you to control other areas of the element that sometimes aren't there. And you mostly find those in the layout section. So if I come here to my section, you can see that in the layout, I get some different options down here. So let me go ahead and turn this off so you can see what it would look like. And this is how you turn it on or off, is you go into the hamburger menu over here in the top left corner, you go to view, and then you go to sizing preference. And by default, you'll have this turned on, set per element. And then you have to turn it on if you want this sizing. So I'm going to show you what this looks like without it. So now when I look at the size, I have a few less options here. I also get this responsive behavior. But then if I go down to the layout, I don't have as many options here either. So I can turn this on per element if I want to. I just click advanced settings and it will turn on. And then right away I get more size settings, but also down here in the layout, I get these rows and columns. So I get more settings here as well. And as you're working with advanced settings, one important thing to note is that if it's in blue here, that means that you can edit it. You can click on it and change the type and you can customize it. If it's grayed out, then you can't. So for a section, for example, you can't affect the width of a section. It's always going to be the width of your canvas or your breakpoint or whatever you're working on. But for different elements, you might have both of these sides enabled. It just kind of depends on what you're working on. So once you turn this on, then you get access to the advanced settings, and then you can do some things that you want to do to customize these grids and these elements. But if you are going to use advanced settings, and I highly recommend that you do because it gives you so much more control over how things function, you don't want to have to go up here and turn this on every single time you want to use it. So that's where you come over here to the left-hand side. You turn on the sizing preference to always show advanced, and then it's just going to be on all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and build a section here from scratch. We're going to build this section so you can see it, and then we can work through why it's so important. So I have my section here. My advanced settings are enabled because I have that setting turned on, and I'm going to select a grid layout. And I'm going to do 2 columns here. As you can see, there's 1 column here, 1 cell here, 1 cell here. So 2 columns, and I'm going to put some padding on this column here. So I'm going to change this to percentage for my padding. Let me get to my right element here, my section grid, go to padding. I'm going to change this to percentage, and then I'm going to do 6% to give it that kind of green area around and above those cells. Then I'm going to add my image. I'm going to go to quick add and drag this image over here and drag it. And then I'm going to add a stack over here and kind of center the stack in the cell. So we already are starting to get the framework of our section built. And I'm going to do a few things to get this to look here. So to look like this section. So this stack, for example, is too crunched. So I can drag it like this, but I can also just come here to the width and say I want this at 60%. So that's going to bring my width size out. But if you look at my button, I don't like how my button is kind of stretching out like that. I want my button to kind of hug the text. And so I'm going to come in here and do max content, which doesn't entirely fix the issue. And then if you do a min width here, that you can put in calc, or you could do pixels, and you could say, hey, don't be smaller than 110 pixels or something. So it'll kind of go to the max content, but it won't ever be smaller than that. So again, when you have these blue sections here, you can set these up if you want to. So like right now, the min height is set to 42 pixels. Maybe I want the min height to be 46 pixels. And so it will never go below 46 pixels, and it will never go below the 110 pixels on the width side. So you just get so much more flexibility here when you're creating these. And then I would change the button color. I would change the spacing between these stack elements because these are grouped together and there's space in between. So I would change this to something like 20 pixels or 16 pixels and then come in here. One thing I also like to do is if you use the stack in the quick add, you want to make sure that your text elements are not set to this scale text. At least for me, I don't like to scale the text. So I like to come in here and reset this to paragraph 2. And that's because I have my site styles configured here in a certain way where these paragraph elements these paragraph text styles don't scale. I just think that's so much easier. So I've got that set here. And then I want to check my title as well. And my title looks like it's the right title, good to go. I might want to change this M to 1 for when I have more text. So I'm just going to copy this text from here, get the home of your dreams, and put that in. And then now that I look at this, I actually might want this to be closer to 70%. So again, I just need to make sure I'm clicking on the right element that I want to change or modify, and then I'm modifying it accordingly. So going back to advanced settings, which we've been using all throughout building this process, I want to make sure I control the height of this image once I get it added. So I'll go ahead and add that image now. And I think I just clicked this one here from the Wix media from Wix. So this is here. So I want to make sure that this image stays a good size. I don't want it to be too small or too big. I want to kind of control that size. So on the advanced settings here, you'll notice when I click on the image itself, it's grayed out. I can't affect the height or width of the image because I've already stretched it. So if I unstretch it, then I can, but since I've stretched it, it's going to fill the parent container. It's going to just conform to the size of the cell. So the cell itself is also grayed out because it's doing the same thing within the section. So I have to go all the way back to the section, and then inside the section is where I can get into these rows. So there's one row here, and then there's 2 columns here at the top, or 2 columns. So one cell column, another cell column. And these are where I have more advanced settings that I can configure how I want this to work. So for the columns, it's fine. It's set to 1 FR, 1 fraction. And so it's just going to be kind of like auto set between those two. But for the rows, I want to make sure that I have full control over this min max to control the size of this image. So in the min side, I'm going to change this to pixels because I want it to be definite. And then I'm going to change this to 450. So now it won't ever go below 450. And on the max side, I'm just going to leave it auto for now. But I could also change the max if I wanted to something else. But I think auto is going to work fine. So now when it goes on other devices, it won't go below that 400 pixels. And so there's still some things I need to do to make this section work. Like I need to change my section layout here instead of columns to rows. And then it's going to allow me to change these rows. And you can see that on mobile, it's a bit different. So for this first column here, I need to maybe change this to a different size. So maybe 300 pixels to make that image a little bit bigger. And then on the other cell, I'm just going to set this to auto. I just want this cell here to hug auto so that it just hugs whatever size the text is. So now it's just going to hug this text. So this is why advanced sizing is so important to get familiar with, because once you start using it, and I can already see a few issues with my design here. The button text is this kind of scale text, which I don't want. So I want to get this to here. And now it's not going to scale on mobile. So you have to kind of know which elements you're editing. But once you do the advanced settings and turn them on and start getting used to how they work, then it just makes things so much easier. So here at this, I have a few options. So let's say I don't want this stack to touch the top and the bottom. I could add some padding to the top and bottom. So I might say, hey, I actually want 20 pixels to give myself some space here. And just in case, I want to give myself some space here on the sides too of 20. So now I've added some space around that. And now because I already know how I want that space to work, I can change the stack to 100%. So it'll fill out that cell. And so you just have complete control over how these things function, every little element. The tricky part with doing advanced settings is just getting used to it, getting used to finding which element drives the sizing. Sometimes it's the section, sometimes it's the stack, sometimes it's the cell, sometimes it's the image, and it all depends on how you have it set up. But once you get familiar with that, you have so much more control over the actual layout. And just to show you an example here, let me turn off the advanced settings for a second of what can happen when you don't have it turned on. When you just go with the default sizing that Wix Studio gives you, let's say that I have a repeater here, and I'm going to just put in a basic repeater. I'm going to stretch it here, and I'm going to just drag the size of this cell really big like this. And then I'm going to add a stack here to my repeater. Okay, so let's say I have this as my basic layout, but let's say that I have some that are longer than others. So I have, this one has more text than the other. So you get into a lot of situations like this where the length is not maybe how you want it. And so you have to kind of, drag things around. So then you try to drag this around to do it, and see that didn't drag down. You have to kind of play with it more to get it to work. Maybe it's the section, and see it's not the section. And so you have these overrides happening in place over here that are a lot harder, I think, to figure out than using advanced settings. Once you turn on advanced settings, you can see what's driving the size or the layout. And so those are some of the main reasons that I've gotten away from using the defaults, because it just gets so much better when you turn this on. And really, to truly master your layouts and get them to work exactly as you want, you need advanced settings turned on and to get familiar with it, because now I can see what's driving these sizes, and see in here, it's not the item, or it's not the repeater. It might be the item itself. So I do have some options in here in the item. It might be the section. So I do have some options in the section. So you can quickly see which element is driving the size. And in this case, it's not the repeater itself. So hope this has been helpful. Just wanted to build a simple 2-column section here to show you how this might work with advanced settings turned on, so you can affect the size and these other layout settings. It really is the best way to design Wix Studio websites, because there will be times when you get to sections like these that you'll just want to tear your hair out, because it will not function right, because there's always some kind of override that is making it so that your repeater just does not function the way you want it to function. And I know that because I've experienced it time and time again, that I'm like, why is this not working? I just want to change the height of this section or the width of this element. And the reason is because the default settings are kind of working against you. And so once you turn this on and get familiar with how to change it, then you have complete control over every single section of your website. And the better you get understanding these different types of measurements that you can use and how you can lay out your sections for optimal performance, then you get better websites overall. And the other thing that I do is, once I have a section ready and it's ready across all the different devices and it's exactly how I like it, then I'll save it as an asset. So I'll right click it here and save as asset to a library, so that I can just reuse this section so I don't have to create it again. And that will save you a ton of time as well. But you only want to do that when you have it perfectly ready across all breakpoints, because if something's broken here on mobile, but it's looking good on desktop, that doesn't serve you that much. So you only want to use it when you have it all the way done. So that's what I have for today's video. I'm a big believer in advanced settings, and it's changing the way that I'm building Wix Studio websites. And again, just real quick on how you turn it on. You come over here to view, then sizing preference, then always show advanced. And if you don't want to start that way, then I would say start by turning it on with the 3 dots, here and there, and getting used to it, because then you'll start to see all the possibilities that are available to you because of advanced settings. So that's what I have for today's video, and I'll see you in the next video.